What is going on, guys? I am the FD Guru, bringing to you guys another episode of my live DFS show. And it's baseball season, so we're going to be talking about the MLB slate tonight. We have 9 games on our slate, and there's no rain to really worry about. So just tune right in, and I'll talk about this slate for about 20-25 minutes. Mention some really good value plays out there and some games you want to be targeting as far as game stacks go. But the pitching is a little difficult tonight just because the studs aren't really worth paying up for. Garrett Cole has been pretty good as of late, but he's not in the best environment over there in Seattle. Pitching away, the Mariners have some pretty good bats in their lineup, and 11,100 is just, it's pretty pricey. Do I hate him as a cash game play? I definitely don't. He can always light up the scoreboard. He could always get a lot of Ks. I'm just trying to figure out whether or not I want to pay up for him because the bat value isn't fantastic tonight, so it's going to be hard to put together some good bats with Garrett Cole. So that's my only issue. I don't hate him at all, though. And if you really want to save some money, Kenta Maeda's in a pretty decent spot. I know he's been good over his last few starts, except for he had one bad one. I think, did he get hurt that game? He must have, right? But other than that game, he's been pretty solid as of late. He's at home. The Dodgers park is a good park to pitch in. But he is facing a bit of a tough lineup in the Milwaukee Brewers. He now has Mike Moustakas to face, that lefty. That's an extra tough bat to pitch against. So he's a decent play there. He's a part of a low total. So, and he's a favorite. He's definitely a guy I'm looking at tonight if I'm not going Garrett Cole in my cash games. As far as the cheap guys go, it's really tough to predict what these guys are going to do. You got Eric Lauer and Holland both pitching against each other in a good ballpark in San Diego. So anything is possible between those two guys. They're not good pitchers, but they get great either. But yeah, as you can see, the pitching's tough. Paxton is against a really tough right-handed hitting Astros team. I don't like him too much either, and he is coming a lot into my head that I'm not really thinking. But moving on into the slate for the bats, like Mitch Moreland's not a bad price at 3,300. He's got that lefty-righty matchup, batting cleanup. It is Fenway, so runs can be scored at any moment. But it's just not the best game to pick from due to everyone's prices being pretty fair and high. There's not really anything I'm looking towards. Jackie Bradley has kind of been heating up as of late. He's only 2,500, but he's still a guy that I'm not going to depend and put my money on any given night right now. Miami at Atlanta. You got Tehran against Chen. Tehran he's tough to predict. He can have a really good start and he can have a really bad start. His last start was really bad, but he had been really good before that. I don't really know if I'm going to be targeting Marlins hitters just because they're not great. Yi Chen is not good. So if you can target some right-handed Braves hitters in this game, that's definitely a good idea. Tyler Flowers is a great GPP play at 2,500, batting 5th. Chen's been known to give up the long ball. Flowers is known to hit the long ball. So that's a recipe for a long ball. Flowers is a pretty good play, batting 5th tonight. Ozzy Albies is pretty expensive, 3,900. He's got the he's gonna have the lefty-righty matchup because he is a switch hitter, but he hasn't been really that hot as of late, so I'm not really gonna be spending up there. I do really like Ronald Acuna Jr. batting leadoff here. 3,500 is a pretty fair price in my opinion. I don't think I'm gonna be able to get him on my cash lineup, but he's a guy you want to look at. He could have a big night, so definitely not a bad play there. This Colorado at St. Louis game, don't look at Tyler Anderson anymore and think that he's a left-handed pitcher you want to target hitters on. He used to be giving it up, but he's been absolutely fantastic as of late. You could maybe even throw him in a GPP lineup just for how good he's been. If you look at his game log, he's been really consistent, really solid across the board. I don't really suggest picking any Cardinals bats in this lineup. If you were to pick any, I guess you'd pick the right-handed guys because it's a lefty pitcher. Maybe Ozuna. Maybe Jed Jericho batting 5th. But believe it or not, the guys you want to you focus on are the Rockies hitters against Martinez. Martinez has not been good or consistent at all this year. He's had a few good starts, but he's also had starts that he's really given it up. So this is definitely a GPP game in any circumstance. The Rockies hitters, I do like Cargo at 2,800. I might be able to squeeze him into my cash lineup tonight. Batting cleanup, lefty-righty matchup. I don't hate that at all. As far as any other Rockies, I mean, Blackman under 4K, that's always something you got to think about just because of how good of a hitter he is. Everyone else, though, is pretty fairly priced. I'm not really looking towards anyone else. If you really want to just take a punt play, Ryan McMahon batting in the 5th spot, which is a pretty good spot, batting or a minimum price at 2,000. So Rockies could make for a nice little low ownership stack tonight against Carlos Martinez, just because people see the name and they kind of just shy away from it. I'm prone to doing that as well, but he just hasn't been consistent enough, and the Rockies can have a big night at any moment. So not a bad team to stack tonight. Let's see. Whoa, I lost you for a minute tonight. What about Nola tonight? Is he no good? Yeah, I'd say he's no good. I mean, there's no reason to spend 10K on a pitcher, no matter how good he's been. He's at Fenway. The Red Sox are just in some sort of crazy groove right now. They're 40-something games over 500. There's just no need to take that risk. I would 100% just pay up the extra $1,200 and get Garrett Cole against the Mariners. Maybe if you want Nola in like 1 or 2 GBPs because he's going to be pretty low owned and he does have the ability to have a huge game. But against the Red Sox, I'm not really looking to do that. Sneaky plays on the Marlins, Bohr and Dietrich. I was actually looking at that earlier. I failed to mention that. I do like those plays. Bohr is only 2,500 batting cleanup. He's got that lefty-righty matchup against Tehran. And Dietrich is obviously leading off, and he's only 2,500 as well. So if you want to do a little pairing of those two guys, I definitely recommend that. Thanks for bringing that up, actually. I was not remembering to do that. But yeah, Dietrich and Bohr are 2 pretty good plays tonight, in my opinion. Cleveland at Minnesota, you got Shane Bieber, who just got absolutely rocked last game, I think it was, yeah, against the Pirates. 7 hits in an inning and 2/3, 7 earned. So he's coming into this game with some demons, some ghosts in his head. So if you want to target some Twins hitters, I don't hate that. And you can also target some Indians hitters too. This game has a pretty high total from Vegas. We have a 9.5 total tonight. It's basically a pick'em. I think 9.5 is the highest total on tonight's slate. Correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, there's a couple 9 totals, but that's it. So yeah, this Indians-Twins game has the highest total of the night, so this is definitely a game we want to look towards the bats. It's just the value isn't great. Logan Morrison, a pretty good play at 3,200. Joe Mauer is an excellent play, always leading off. He's always a cheap price. He's got that lefty-righty matchup against Bieber. 2,600 is pretty good. Mauer's a guy who could always get a few hits and score a few runs, especially in that leadoff spot. There's just not great value, though. Jorge Polanco, actually, batting 3rd, 2,800. That's a pretty good play there. Definitely want to try to spend lower, especially if you're picking Cole. Michael Brantley is probably the best value play in this game, just because he's been above 4K all year. And he's a really, really good player. Batting 302. He's got that lefty-righty matchup against Santana. He's definitely the best Indian play in this game. 3,300 is definitely a price we're not used to seeing with him. As far as everyone else, not great value. Max Kepler, 2,500. That's a pretty good value play right there against Shane Bieber. 5th is always a good spot to hit, especially in a game where there's supposed to be some runs scored. He should be getting up with a couple guys on base. I definitely like him. Miguel Sano, his price has gone up a little bit, and he's batting 7th. A lot of people picked him when he first came back to the bigs a couple days ago at minimum, and I'm pretty sure he did absolutely nothing. This guy is just really struggling this year. Tough to see after how good of a year he had last year. He's been up and down, mostly down, but I'm not going to be looking at him either. Best plays in this game, definitely Brantley, Max Kepler, Joe Mauer, maybe even Yonder Alonso. Texas at Arizona. I love the Diamondbacks bats tonight. They're facing Martin Perez. We know how much he can give it up. Arizona's a bit of a hitter's ballpark, and the D-backs have some really good right-handers in their lineup tonight for that righty-lefty matchup against Martin Perez. Love Paul Goldschmidt. If there's going to be a stud bat you spend up on tonight, it's going to be Goldschmidt, batting third. 4,300 is not a bad play. He's in an awesome spot tonight. Eduardo Escobar, recently acquired from the Twins, is batting second for the D-backs tonight. I like him as well. He's a switch hitter. He'll have that lefty-righty matchup as well. Definitely a good idea to pair those two guys. I also really like Nick Ahmed batting sixth. That's a decent spot in the lineup. Basically in the middle. He's only 2,600. Another lefty-righty matchup there. And then you also want to look at Pollock. You want to look at Steven Souza. All these Diamondbacks hitters are in play tonight, guys. You really want to focus on these D-backs guys. A.J. Pollock is under 4K with a picture-perfect matchup against Martin Perez. So I do like Pollock a lot. Him and Goldschmidt are the two studs you want to spend up on tonight's slate. Certainly, in my opinion. If you disagree, go ahead and tell me, but it's a really hard argument to make for how good of a matchup these guys have tonight. As far as the Rangers hitters go in this game, I'm not really looking towards it. Robbie Ray, he can just be so good at times. The Rangers can just absolutely score nothing. I'm not really looking towards anything. Maybe Adrian Beltre, 2,700 lefty-righty matchup as a GPP guy. But I don't even think the Rangers have their lineup out yet. I'll refresh this, but yeah. And none of these late games. There's 4 late games tonight, so it's going to be really tough to predict any of these lineups. These games are going to be games that I really just run through. There's not too much to pick from as usual, but we'll look into that as we go here. Toronto at Oakland, this being a late game. You got Estrada and Jackson, 2 right-handed pitchers that can give it up. Certainly don't want to look at either of these guys for picking, but you do want to pick on them for bats. There's just not great value, and we don't know any of the lineups yet, so it's tough. But this is a pretty good game to pick from when we do know the lineups in probably an hour or so. It's got an 8.5 total. Athletics are favored. So the Athletics are expected to score a few runs here. Lowry, that's a fair price at 3,400. I'm not loving it. I'm not loving Matt Olson. Or 3,300 is a fair price for Matt Olson. He's going to have that lefty-righty matchup against Estrada. That could be a pretty decent play there. As far as everyone else on the... Don't mind that play at all. We'll have to see that lineup as we go. Houston at Seattle. You don't want any Mariners bats, obviously, against Garrett Cole. No need to pick on them. And then packs of these guys are going to be in the middle of that Astros lineup, especially with Jose Altuve on the DL. And then obviously you don't want any Mariners bats. Milwaukee at Los Angeles. This is another tough game to pick from. Maeda can be good. No need to pick any Brewers bats. And then Freddie Peralta has really shown tonight. And then we got this last game at Petco. Eric Lauer against Derek Holland. 2 lefties that can really give it up. In this game, there's some really good bats over 3K. So if you really want to spend down on some guys, this isn't a bad game to do so. It's got a pretty low total, though. It's only an 8 total with it being in San Diego. But you could definitely pick your spots here. It's not a bad game to pick from. Really tough to mention who I like when I don't know the lineups. But you definitely just want to look towards whoever's batting, in the top 4 spots of each lineup and try to find some good value. Hunter Renfroe will probably be batting cleanup tonight against Derek Holland. 2,600 is a fair price. But like I said, without knowing the lineups, it's tough to predict, tough to mention any guys for you guys. So that's really going to sum it up there. You really want to look in that Cleveland-Minnesota game. Love the Arizona Diamondbacks right-handed pitching tonight, or hitters tonight against Martin Perez. That's probably the most chalk play in my opinion. Love the Twins tonight. Yeah, I do too. Shane Bieber, like I said, is facing some demons after that last performance. So definitely try to get some Twins exposure. D-backs, definitely chalk. Yep, I agree. Yeah, Houston at Seattle, not sure I like that game. Yeah, I don't like it either for the bats at all, like I said at the beginning. But I do like it for Garrett Cole. The more and more I look at this slate in the pitching, I'm probably going to end up spending up on Garrett Cole just because Kenta Maeda he's just not consistent enough, and the Brewers are a pretty good hitting team. I'm not really looking. I'd rather just spend up 2K for Garrett Cole just because of how good he is. He's just the cash game play here. He's been good all year basically. He hardly ever has a bad start. Murcia, I like some Marlins, Dodgers, left-hand bats. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't love the Dodgers here just because Freddie Peralta, like I said, can be really good. It's like, what left-hand bats are you going to spend here? I mean, maybe Bellinger at 3,300, but Jock Peterson, too expensive at 3,500. The only other lefty in this lineup is Mike Muncy. Where is he? And he's 3,900, just not really worth it for how good Peralta can be on the mound. So you're really throwing some risk out there if you pick any batters from this game. But that basically is going to sum up this show, guys. If you want full lineups, go over to my site. I have a very, very cheap deal going on here. The rest of the cash main slate season is only 100 Guru credits. The rest of the GPP is only 75. 100 Guru credits equals out to $20. So that's a pretty good deal. If you look at my record over here, 59-47 on the year for main slate lineups. With a winning record, July's been pretty good at 15-9. So don't be shy to try to get some of those lineups. And then all non-main slate teams are on the extra content tab. I also throw DraftKings teams on that as well. So if you don't have the Guru credits and you need them, you want to view some of my picks, just go over to my site right here, and everything will be right here. Like I said, all non-main slate content. I'll probably have a late night lineup tonight on my extra content page, so tune in for that. Tune into this site for everything. If you need to get Guru credits, head over to the shop. And until next time, guys, I am the FD Guru, and I am signing off.